Welcome, you driven seekers. My promise for you today is I'm going to show you an entirely different viewpoint on life that is going to allow you to live a much better, happier, and fulfilling life. Now, I want to share with you guys a little personal story before we dive into this training here today to show you kind of some proof and why I'm so passionate about creating this training here today. So, for me personally, ever since I was about 21, 22, we'll say, I've been making over six figures a year. I've had a relationship for over 5 years or so, and I've created a lot of success in my life by about the age of 25. But in the last year, I've been truly called to take a full step back. I mean, a pause where I stepped back, I closed the doors to my coaching program. So I was only serving my current clients for over 5 months. And I just stepped back and did the inner work. And through this journey, I completely broke down my identity, who I was, my ego, went to a deep depression, darkness, experienced a lot of my old fears, old programs, limiting beliefs, and I learned a lot as well coming out of it. And I would say I've always been kind of a spiritual person, but it was more so of a thought, and now it's like a knowing. Like I always say, I can think and then I can believe, but then there's I know. And I finally reached that point, and I will say this that even though I've had the success in the past, this year when I took that step back, I've never felt more free in my life. I've never felt more abundant in my life, even though that situation temporarily has changed. I've never felt more unconditional love and more trust in my life. I've never felt genuinely, never felt better. And I am the person who is extreme optimist, but I've never felt better in my life. It is a total transformation. And my relationships 100 times better. You know, looking back, I used to be conditional love with my relationships. I will love you if you do these things or if we go this way or whatever it may be, kind of from a control standpoint. Now it's unconditional. And when I made that switch, it's funny enough, all the things I did want to happen happened when I let go, when I stopped trying to control. When it came to abundance, even though before I was making all this money in the past at such a young age, my young, 21 or so, 21, 22, 23, 24, etc. Even though I was making all this money, I couldn't actually enjoy it because in my mind, I had these old programs that money connects with stress, money connects with extreme hard work. So I was working nonstop, doing all these things where I couldn't even enjoy the freedom and the abundance. Instead, for me, it felt like it was never enough. And I had to keep going, had to keep going, had to keep going. And there's so many other pieces in my life. Like, for example, freedom. I never felt truly free before. If I wanted to go on a hike in the morning, even though I'm a business owner and I did this stuff to create freedom in my life, I couldn't even go on a hike because I would make myself feel so guilty and bad about doing it. And I would tear myself apart, thinking, you're not doing enough. You should be working right now. And looking back, these are all just old animal programs that was programmed into me from a child growing up into this world. And it's how I've been functioning. And it's how most of us function through the logical animal brain. And this past year in total, I've been on a massive, massive transformational journey. And specifically in the past 6 months, after I've made the changes I've made, it feels like I feel like I've just been reborn again. And I'm stepping into this world again and now creating myself through this new lens, we'll say. And again, I've never felt unbelievably better. I have new passions, new excitement that I'm creating. And funny enough, actually, I'm living most of my life off intuition now, which means I have my logical side. I have that logical side, and we'll say intuition is about 80 to 85%. And then the rest is logical, which means I'm following and trusting in my inner pull. I call it I follow my soul. But a lot of people call it follow your alignment, follow your passion, follow your highest joy. And I think it's all the same. And as I've been following this, I can only say this that my life only gets better and better and better. And it feels like everything in a way is taken care of. I'm controlling what I can control, and I'm letting go of the how and when of everything else, and everything else is falling into place. Synchronicities are showing up like crazy. It feels like magic in a way. So my goal today, guys, is I want to share with you this point of view in life. because I know a lot of people are suffering. A lot of people feel disconnected in an age of social media when we should not be disconnected, but yet we feel so disconnected. And with disconnection comes attachments, comes suffering, comes sadness. So my goal for you and my goal to share today is to share this different view of life, to help you live more fulfilled, more empowered, more free, and a creative way of life. Okay, so let's dive in. So this is going to be a heavy one because this is kind of like the general view, and I can like scope down into multiple areas when it comes to this kind of training. But here it is. So in a lot of ancient teachings, a lot of ancient civilizations, a lot of religions, a lot of this stuff, right? It all connects, though. You'll see that there's one thing that connects to it all. For example, the Hermeticism. Okay, so ancient like Greece and Egyptian ways of life, ways of being, perspectives. Hermetics, they looked at it as they called it the all is mind. All is one and one is all. The Hinduism, okay, so Hinduism look at it as Atman is Brahman. Hippies, okay, so modern day hippies will say I am the universe experiencing itself. And Taoism would say the Tao is the one. You know, and then you got the Maya, you've got all those things. But what do when we see these ancient teachings, these ancient knowledge that's passed down, right? When we hear the idea of source and God, what does it all connect to? It all connects to this, that every single thing is one, that we are all connected, right? If the Buddha believed that, they looked at the viewpoint of, you know, we're all the ocean, and then we are all these little drops of water, but we're all connected to the ocean, right? And the whole idea behind that is that, again, all is one. But here's the thing, before you stop watching this video, because I will tell you this, that again, growing up, I've always had these ideas. And when I got older into high school and stuff, I was studying, you know, spirituality, law of attraction, all this stuff, manifesting. And I had this idea of like, okay, well, we are all connected, but it wasn't fully embodied. You know, again, I had the thoughts of it, but I didn't embody it. I didn't really truly understand it, grasp it. And that's what I want to help you guys do today. Even if you have that idea of like we're all connected, how can you truly embody this and grasp this where this actually genuinely transforms your life at the highest level possible? So that's what we're really going to dive into. The idea of oneness, this viewpoint, and how it can completely transform your life moving forwards. So here's the idea around oneness. Is I know for me personally, growing up, I used to think that the world was outside of me. I'm just this human being in this world, and everything else is outside of me. And I'm just this small human being. And that's how I kind of seen the world. Now I see it as this, as, you know, you can call it source, consciousness, energy. See it that we are all this one, and I am having this human experience, but I am a soul having a human experience. In my soul is the idea of separation, right? The law of polarity or duality. It is separation from oneness. Okay, it is my individual self, my individual personal experience. And then I have this human experience going on right now, which is simply just a point of focus. So I am consciousness, which consciousness will say source is all. When it comes to source, there is no time, there is no space, right? If you look at the way things work right now in life, if you removed space, if you remove time, what do you have? Everything is one. Everything is then connected. If you look at all that is, if you look at the quantum field, everything is just potential, right? Every single thing is energy. And we can even say, again, with consciousness. I believe the way I see it is that we are consciousness, and then inside of consciousness, inside all that is, we have these souls. And then inside that, we have these personal human experiences. And this is where time and space exist. And the whole point, I believe, around having this human experience and having all this is that if we are all one, in source. And above there, there is no space and time, which means you're experiencing everything here and now. And everything is happening all at once. If that is so, then what would be the goal of us as humans having this human experience? It would be to, again, have experience, to gain more experience, to know yourself more, to learn more about yourself. So to kind of round it up before we move on. So you are source, and then source creates this kind of individualism, okay, separation, and anesthesia, we'll say. And you have your soul. And then your soul, you're a point of focus of the soul, having this human experience where you feel disconnected. It's an illusion. You are not separated. You are not disconnected. You're not down here trying to reach up. It's more like this. You are soul, you are source, your soul, and then your human point of view, your human experience. And with this, you're only experiencing the now, which means there is actually no past or no future. And this is key to remember because as a human, right, we have our animal brain, we have our logical brain, we have the safety and security side of us, and we have our ego. And this part of us wants to try to control. So it wants to try to predict the future and the past. It tries to control those pieces there. That's why you feel so good when you're present. When you're fully in the moment, you're not stuck in your head worrying. Anxiety and worry does not exist in the present moment. That is only a construction of the ego, the identity, the animal self that's trying to take control, trying to play it safe, make sure that you stay alive. It's trying to control those aspects. But if we truly understand that all is here and now, we are experiencing every single thing here and now. There is no past, there is no future. There's only this point of focus. Then again, you will feel so much more unbelievably free. So much better, so much more trust. Like, for example, a lot of us, we suffer because we have these thoughts and these imaginations of all these things that we want in our life. Maybe you want financial abundance and freedom. Maybe you want love because you're lonely. Maybe you don't want to suffer with your health anymore. You have all these thoughts of what you think, what it is that you want. But you know what you actually want? You want the feeling you think it's going to give you. Right? You want that love. You want that feeling of the love. You want that abundance. You want that freedom feeling. It's not the materialistic thing. It's not the car. It's not the yacht. It's not that person that's actually going to give it to you. And what I mean by that is, let's say you felt the exact same way that you felt right now, but you had that thing in your life. Nothing actually changes within. You're still going to feel the same. You're still going to experience everything the same, even though you have that thing. And that's where it comes to the idea of manifesting and creating your life, is that you have to control, you don't control the how or when. It's not up to you. You control your state of being. You control your perspective. You control your actions. You control what you can control. You change the inner self, right? You change your point of view. You change your vibration. You change your frequency. What my frequency is what I frequently see. You change that. You change the inner, and then the external will then reflect it. There's a common quote, there's a common saying out there from a lot of teachers that they say, where when you look in the mirror and you want the mirror to smile, right? But you're sad, it doesn't work that way. You have to smile first, and then the mirror will reflect it. And that's what your outer world will do. You change your inner state first, and then your outer world reflects it. Here's a common one. Think of it like this. A lot of people who are struggling in poverty, right? They're focused and they're stuck in that survival state. They're just trying to get through. They're trying to distract themselves from their reality. They're in a repeating cycle of fear, of shame, of guilt, of stuck, of not enough, of lack. But if you look at, again, the idea of the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. The rich, right, more of a rich person, what are they focused on? Creation, expansion, growth, abundance, richness. And what do they get more of? They keep getting more and more of that because that is their point of focus. That is their inner state of being. That is what they're literally attracting into their lives. So that is the next section I want to dive into, is that your outer world reflects your inner world. So think of it like life is like a mirror. What you believe is what you feel. What you feel is what you vibrate. Every single thing in the world vibrates, right? The higher that you vibrate, the less physical and dense that you are. That's the more connected you get to your soul. So if you look at the human frequency chart, for example, on the bottom, there's like fear, grief, apathy. At the top is like enlightenment, joy, and love. That is the highest state of being. That's the highest frequency. That is when you vibrate at the highest level. That's when you attract all those things into your life. That's when your consciousness is expanded. So what you vibrate is what you experience. Because remember, you don't get what you want in life, you get what you're being. And what I mean by that is that you want different results in your life, which means you need different actions, right? That's the only way. Life, it's up to you. Sometimes we get lucky, but even then, for example, you win the lottery, if it's not attuned to your nervous system and your state of being, you'll lose it very quickly. Stats show over 85% or 80% of people go broke after 5 years after winning the lottery. You don't need a handout. You need to change within. That's what you need to focus on. So, like I said, you want different results in your life, which means you need to take different consistent actions over time, right? You want to lose weight. You can't just go to the gym one day. You got to become the person who shows up consistently every single week, who wants to eat better, who wants to eat healthier. And how you take different actions is based off of your identity. And neuroscience shows that your identity is created through your consistent thoughts and emotions held over time. Neurons that fire together will wire together. That will create your identity. And we now know that the emotions and those thoughts, right? Because I am not my thoughts, I'm the observer of my thoughts. So those states of being come from what? Your core beliefs. And your core beliefs is what you can change. So you change those, you change your inner world, you change your perspective, and then the outer world will then eventually match it. So that leads me on to the next section here is that the contrast in your life, the pain, the suffering, the problems, it exists to help you grow. Everything is for you. You got to understand that if you are all that is, you are an unbelievable, powerful creator. Every single thing is for you. And even if you don't believe me, remember that you have a choice to believe that everything is either for you or against you. And if you've always believed that the world is against you and you're a victim, I promise you, the universe and creation and source loves you so much that they will support you in those beliefs. So what makes you think that by changing your beliefs, you won't be supported for the positive? Because you will. So think of it like this. Life has its ups and downs. The law of rhythm, the Hermetics will say, it has its ups and downs. It has the flow. And I think of it like this, is expansion and then constricting, which means expanding means you're growing, right? You're transforming, you're leveling up, and then you go back into the constricting. You go back into the pain, the problems, the challenges, the things that you don't prefer. But here's the thing is that you need to experience those, the law of duality, polarity. You need to experience those so you know what it is that you actually do want, right? It's not there to punish you. It's not there because you're failing or not good enough. It's there to show you what you don't prefer so you can choose what you do prefer. So for example, fear versus love, right? This is the idea of becoming the alchemist. You turn your fear into trust. You turn the energetic state into another energetic state. Clarity versus confusion, calm versus stress, all parts of the same spectrum. You were born to learn through experience. So now we take all this and we put it together. You are a source experiencing life through a human point of view. Everything that you feel within, inside, becomes a life that you then personally experience outside. Example behind that is that life is never what happens to you. It's about how you react to it moving forwards, right? The two boys with the alcoholic father, they grew up. One boy became a massive success. The other boy became an alcoholic like his father. The interviewer asked them, why are you the way you are? Both had the same answer, because my father was an alcoholic, but they looked through life through a different lens. The other one used it to his advantage. The other one used it for the victim, the suffering. This is going to be who I am. So like I said, everything you feel inside becomes a life that you see outside. And everything that happens helps you become who you are. Now, when we can truly, truly grasp this, you will feel unbelievably free. Your fear will start to dissolve. Life will start to get a lot more lighter, and you will start to remember who you truly are and your actual power. And this is exactly what I'm creating and training and guiding people with in my new Dream Self Creator course and coaching community, is teaching you how to understand this, how to put this into practice to start creating your life and not just going through the motions, not being a victim, not getting torn apart through life, but stepping up and creating and transforming your life to the life that you actually genuinely want. Because once we can fully grasp this, again, everything's going to change. The way that you see life through abundance, your personal experience, understanding that if you don't prefer something in your external world, you just have to change your internal focus. You just have to change your personal frequency. You just have to cut those limiting beliefs, cut those fears out. Because when you can do that, then the external world will start to reflect a new self. So that's the general idea in training for today. Again, I could go so narrow on this, but I will in further trainings in the future, and I also have in my past trainings. But that viewpoint right there has truly, truly transformed my life and also so many of my clients. And when we can fully understand that and understand how creation works, source, all that is, and then also understanding that human piece of ourselves, these challenges that we have, how our brain works, the safety, the security, the fear, when we can truly understand that, I promise you, you'll feel like your higher self, which means you won't feel so caught up in this experience and struggling and just kind of getting thrown around. You'll feel like, okay, you know what? I see the bigger picture and I can change this and I can create what it is that I actually want. And I promise you, it worked for me. I've been creating my dream life like ever since I was 17, 18 or so, and it's been truly magical. I've done things that statistically are not really possible, but it is possible because you are all that is. You can do it if it's truly meant for you, if you truly want it. So that's training for today, guys. I would love to hear what is your personal comments, opinions, what is your biggest takeaways from this, and what would you like to see next? Please like and subscribe if this hit, and I'll see you next time.